The vice presidential debate today, what a ripper it was. JD Vance wiped the floor with Tim Walz. He was cool, he was calm, he was collected. He was able to meet every attack that Walz levelled at him. He was able to meet every attack that the moderators levelled at him, and there were a few of them. I think it really shone through that JD Vance is not only a great orator, but he's put in the work to front up to the media, particularly the lefty media. He knows how to deal with them because he's unafraid to talk to the voters, even those who might disagree with him. Unlike Tim Walz, who's barely done any interviews, he only shows up at occasional rallies. Of course, that interview with Kamala Harris on CNN, he had to be there to hold her hand. You hide them away and you put them in this situation, and it doesn't always go well. So Tim Walz seemed a bit nervous, to the point where he started telling us he was a knucklehead.
My community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect, and I'm a knucklehead at times. My commitment has been from the beginning to make sure that I'm there for the people, to make sure that I get this right. I will say more than anything, many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric.
I'm a knucklehead, I'm from Minnesota, and I am here to help. What a way to sell yourself to the people. And then, of course, he's been saying for a long time that he was in China when the Tiananmen Square attacks happened, and this formed his view about how important democracy was and how governance should be run. Well, we found out today that he wasn't actually in China when Tiananmen Square happened. So, of course, he was asked about this, and take a listen to the answer. I don't think he quite hits the point here.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Oh. He learnt a lot. Oh, it's just
compelling and rich. For those of us who actually watched this debate, it was eye-watering bad watching Tim Walz, and the split-screen difference that you see between Vance, just cool as a cucumber. He's got his facts on his side. He's been doing his murder boards, as Kel explained to you last night, prepping for this. He is a well-oiled machine, didn't once falter. And compare that to Walz, who looked 50% terrified, 50% confused the entire time. Whereas Vance took it upon himself to fact-check the fact-checkers when they tried it on with him. Check out this interaction between himself and the moderators. He wasn't letting them get away with anything.
For our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank you,
Margaret. The rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
Vance quite literally gave a masterclass in how to debate. Check out this point he made on illegal immigrants and the impact that's having on housing in America, where he starts out supposedly agreeing with his opposition, only to flip the tables spectacularly.
Well, first of all, Tim just said something that I agree with. We don't want to blame immigrants for higher housing prices, but we do want to blame Kamala Harris for letting in millions of illegal aliens into this country, which does drive up costs, Tim. 25 million illegal aliens competing with Americans for scarce homes is one of the most significant drivers of home prices in the country.
You can see Walz just hanging his head at that point like, oh my goodness, how do I handle this guy? He is steamrolling me. This was a night of redemption for Vance, who has been slammed by the mainstream media, the regime media in America. The charade is over at this point. Anyone who's seen even the smallest clip of this debate knows it was a bloodbath.
I reckon JD Vance walked out of there tonight singing Kel, and you know what he was singing? I was dancing with my baby to the Timothy Waltz, because he danced all over him.
Yeah, or Knucklehead, as he's known to his friends.
Correct.
Yes. In fact, he's contributed some words to our thesaurus. 3 new words for lying. If you're a liar, you're not a liar, you're a knucklehead. and you didn't lie, you misspoke.
That's it.
And you got carried away with the rhetoric, is what he did. There are 2 memes that I found on the web today, which I found interesting. One meme was describing Vance as displaying blazing intelligence, and I thought that nailed what he did. What he is he's well prepared, he's good at debating and that kind of thing, but the man is super smart. He's got a brain the size of a planet. That was obvious. The other meme was this meme that said, Barack Obama wanted a vice president more stupid than him, so he chose Joe Biden. Joe Biden wanted a vice president more stupid than him, so he chose Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris wanted a vice presidential candidate more stupid than her, so she chose Tim Walz. Now, I saw that meme and I thought, that's really nice. And it sums up where the debate went, doesn't it?
It does. I have to say, though, as bad, and I said this earlier when I was hosting Sherry, but as bad as Walz was, in that he was nervous and Vance kept landing very easy attacks on him, I couldn't help watching that debate and thinking, imagine if these two were the presidential candidates instead of Trump and Harris, because that debate focused on policy. There was none of this, personality clash. It was all about policy. And it felt to me like, American politics for a small moment was going back to where it should be, which is we're actually talking about the issues in front of us here instead of, Orange Man bad and Kamala's, mentally not all there and whatever. They actually got down to brass tacks, which would have been so good to see in the previous debates, but you just didn't get it. It felt really civil.
It did, and it was. The moderators had a far easier time with this one than they did with Trump and Kamala's. And it's so simple for Americans to just go, which one of these guys would I want in the Situation Room at the White House next time a disaster's unfolding? Do you really want that bumbling fool of a Tim Walz sitting there? I don't even know what he'd be doing with himself, but he certainly wouldn't be calling any shots.
No. Can I offer a thought on this? People keep saying it won't make any difference, won't have an impact. I actually think it might. The reason is, as I said last night, Vance needed to show himself as presidential. 40 years old, but if something happened to Trump, he could step behind the Resolute desk and he could do the job. And when you saw that in that debate, you thought, he's presidential. If he's behind the Resolute desk, I'm not going to be worried. What that will do is, it won't change people's minds, but I think it might get people out to vote. Those people who thought, well, we'd quite like Trump to win, we think he's okay, now think, this is a great team. And because voting is optional in America, you don't have to vote, it motivates them to leave the House and actually go to vote. So I think by motivating the people who are on side to really vote, not just think about it, it actually might make a difference.